Giants just beat the Eagles on Thursday Night Football, 34-17. Can we get a round of applause? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe that they show a record that we have not won a game on Thursday Night Football in 10 years. Can you believe that? 10 years it's been that we've been living in this misery of waking up on Friday morning and feeling defeated because the New York Giants didn't pull out a W the night before. Well, on this Friday morning, in this case, that is not the case. That is not the case, man. The Giants have defeated the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbull, that O-line, our D-line. Bro, the Giants, man, we did it, bro. Like, all right, so now let's break it down a little bit. And I want to give a big shout out. I want to give a big shout out to that offensive line, because I think they did an amazing job at just controlling the flow of the game, giving Jackson time, giving the running backs lanes, when Cam was in there, when Singletary came in, when Tracy had a few rough runs, you know what I'm saying? But overall, they did a great job of keeping that pass rush off of Jackson Dart, and of course, in Jackson Dart fashion, really, and that's, who I'm going to talk about next. He made him look good in certain situations, right? Because at times they did get there, and he used his legs, either running with the ball, keeping plays alive, or just, that magic that he was working with, just his pocket awareness has been amazing and has been on full display these last 3 weeks that he's been the quarterback for the Giants. I think to go out here and to do this with the wide receivers that he has right now, you're looking at Lil Jordan Humphreys getting elevated. You're looking at Jalen Hyatt, who's been non-existent. You get Wandell, who is, Wandell, I always had confidence in, so I'm not going to say nothing, about Wandell. Of course, he had a few moments this season that, he might want to have back where he could have made some plays, but at the end of the day, I trust Wandell. I like Wandell. I think we're a better team with Wandell on the field, and he brings that speed and versatility and quickness, that is much needed. And he went out there and he was a security blanket for Dart today, and that was awesome. But again, shout out to the other guys though. Shout out Lil Jordan Humphreys, man, because being elevated, I know he's a practice squad guy, but for the people that were paying attention, this is someone that Dart has gone and continued to build this relationship with. This was since preseason. We saw it in the training camp, in the videos, if you were keeping up. Like, they've had this connection in practice. So when they elevated him, I was like, it didn't feel like, uh-oh, like, who is this guy? No, it felt like, oh, this is great, because this is someone that Jackson already has reps in with. You know what I'm saying? And it went and it showed the first drive when he goes and he trusts him with that nice 20, 30-yard bomb down the field where he makes that nice, high-pointed contested catch. I think that was huge for us, and that really set the tone for our offense, because before that, we were a little bit lackluster. Jackson Dart's first throw was almost intercepted, and he tells, I believe it was Theo, like, look at me, like, look for the ball. The ball's coming out quick tonight, so... And that's another thing about Jackson I think we got to talk about more is he's so vocal. And I think that's necessary at the quarterback position, because he's, as much as these guys know what they're doing, sometimes on the field, like where a 7-yard corner, if you see that guy's pressed up a little bit more up in coverage, you tell him, yo, at 5, hit that in. You know what I'm saying? Or, like you can tell that he has that kind of relationship and confidence and young leadership to go in there and tell his guys, like just in that moment, I know it's real small, but like if you pay attention to that kind of things, those things matter. Those little details matter. And the fact that he's that detail oriented this young, I think is a good sign. We stand a chance when Jackson's on the field. I think that's been real clear cut. We got 3 weeks of Russ. Listen, I love Russ. I was in Russ's corner, and I don't say was meaning like I'm not now, but as a starting quarterback for the New York Giants, I'm sorry, like I've seen enough. At this point, I'm more confident. Like I feel bad because we're putting him in and he's getting booed by our fans. You know what I'm saying? He's getting booed because he goes and throws a ball right to the ground. Like, come on, what are we doing? Like, at this point, put Jameson. Put Jameson. I see us probably getting a trade or something done with Russ. I don't see him much longer in New York. Not at this rate. I don't think. I think the even though they respect him in that locker room, I truly feel like that respect is not gone. I think that they see what's happening when he's going out there and making these like lackluster plays, and I feel like it's almost like, yeah, this has to just be a done deal and separated because it's looking real ugly and bleak. But anyway, let's get to the bright side of things because that whatever, that's no here nor there. We're talking about the Giants and Jackson Dart, and he's starting quarterback, and we're 2-1 on the Jackson Dart. So that's what fucking matters at the end of the day. Sorry for getting a little sidetracked about Russ there, but moving on to Cam, man. Bam Bam Cam. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. That is not Cam Scatterboo. That is Bam Bam Cam. He just goes out there like a missile. He's everything you want in a running back. If you ask me, he has the burst. He has the elusiveness when needed. He's catching the ball pretty well. We haven't spoken about that. He's caught the ball pretty well out the backfield. And he punishes people who are trying to tackle him for the most part. And you can see that wearing people down. That's going to wear defenses down. You become someone that they don't want to hit no more. We don't have a lot of players like that in the NFL now. And it's nice to see a guy like Cam Scatterboo wearing the blue jersey, bro. I couldn't help but get just a whole bunch of nostalgia from watching Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw going crazy with number 44, man. Ahmad used to do the same thing, the elusiveness, the athleticism, the speed, or he could put them shoulders down, put his head down, and meet you at the hole and put guys out like he did against the Jets in that 2016 run when we won the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, 2016, I'm wilding. 2012 when we won the Super Bowl, 2011 to 2012 season, and he runs that safety over or whatever, and that kind of seals the game, like that kind of power is what Cam runs with. And I think for people who have been paying attention since college and looking at his highlights, and if you didn't watch much of his highlights, just watching the Texas game alone lets you know, like, that's a baller. And I was so over the top excited when I found out. Story time real quick. I had to give you guys the story time. So my wife and I, we're driving. We were out that day. I had been keeping up with the draft for the first round and the second round, but we had to go out. And so I'm like, babe, can you check the boards? Like, I know our pick is coming up soon. And she's like, oh yeah, she's like, you guys pick somebody. His name is Cam Scatterboo. I'm like, bro, you're talking about Cam Scatterboo. Like, we got Cam Scatterboo. I cannot believe that he fell to the 4th round. I was just in awe, but I was like, you know what? Let's do it, bro. When I saw, this draft, say what you want about Joe Shane. Say what you want about this regime. They're showing us why sometimes you need some patience to grow, as New Yorkers and winning these championships like we've seen with the Giants do, both in 07 and then in 11 and from so much success, I think you kind of get spoiled. And, if you're a Yankees fan, you've gotten spoiled early in the thousands and past that, we're winning championships, but those things are hard to build. They're not easy to build. It's almost like a perfect recipe that has to happen. Like, everything has to be clicking, from your GM to ownership to the head coach to the players to the coaches to the assistant coaches. Like, everything has to be a perfect blend. And these are a lot of people and individuals that we're talking about. I know that only 11 are on the field at a time, but it's it's very difficult to manage all of this and to build championship teams. And we haven't had that for so long. We've had a losing mentality for so long. But I think they went out there and they handpicked the guys that they felt were going to bring the culture that they wanted, and we're finally seeing what that's doing. It's took some time, it's took some growing pains, and it's still going to continue to have growing pains because we're still not there yet. Like we see good things, we see glimpses of what this team could be. How fast they could put that all together, I mean, only time will tell. It's a week at a time. Like, you see that they can go out there and beat the Chargers, they can beat the Eagles, but then you see what happens if they start making those rookie mistakes, those just silly football mistakes that you can't be making, that is just comes down to playing fundamental football, like holding on to the football or keeping the ball safe. Don't throw it into double, triple coverage if you don't need to. Learn to live another day, or be safer with taking the hits. Like, Jackson still has to learn, and that takes time. That's going to take reps. That's going to take real life, real gaming experience, which is why I feel like Dable, yeah, he was coaching for his job. Maybe people see it as a desperation move. I don't think that's the case. I think he looked at it as, I'm a coach. I need to have my best players out there. And Jackson Dart was a better player. Like we're seeing it. Like, he's been a difference. Cam has been a difference. I know he kind of got more of those reps because of Tyrone Tracy's injury, but he's gone and shown too, like, they have what it takes, and they don't look fluky, man. It don't look fluky. So shout out to them. I think that we've gotten so much flack, and we're finally starting to see some growth, some development, and I just hope to continue to see that. I wanted to see competent football. That's what I said on the last pod. We got a W, so I'm not complaining, but it's a long season, and it's going to be week to week with these guys. So shout out to Cam. Shout out to all these young guys that are coming in. But I don't think a lot of it gets done if it wasn't for the unsung heroes that I feel like is the trenches, man. I just feel like Andrew Thomas brings such a consistency to that group. I think he's let up like 2 pressures in 6 games or some crazy stat like that, or maybe 1 pressure. Like, that's insane in 3 games. Like, the guy's playing damn near perfect football. And if you watch him in the run game too, he's getting pushes. He's running out there on poles. Like, this guy is doing everything right. Jermaine Illuminor, Runyon. I saw Greg Van Roten. The guy's almost 40 years old. I saw him pull on one of these run plays, and the way he got out there and led that block, he put somebody on their ass. And I was like, yes, dude, like, yes, like, this is the brand of football we need to be playing. You know what I'm saying? JMS has been getting so much flack. Oh, he's a bust. He's this, he's that. I never said that. I never fell for, listen, it was looking bleak. It was looking rough, but we were all looking rough. So it's hard to point the finger and say these guys, when everybody just looks ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, finally, like, now they're all developing and working together, and you've seen JMS be able to just kind of, I think what it is, it was a lack of trust almost too. The offensive lines work in such synchrony, and they have to communicate so well, especially with these stunts and these crosses and these blitzes that are coming in. Like, they have to communicate all this on the line. And I think it was also not Andrew Thomas, like, the offensive lines work in such synchrony, and they have to communicate so well, especially with these stunts and these crosses and these blitzes that are coming in. Like, they have to communicate all this on the line. And I think it was also not Andrew Thomas and his ability to just be a great football player out there. I think it's his IQ and what he's able to do with Runyon, and so what Runyon is able to do with JMS, and what JMS is able to do with Greg Van Roten, and Greg Van Roten with Illuminor. You know, it all goes hand in hand. So we're kind of seeing the fruits of that finally. So shout out to the O-line, man. They've been playing amazingly. I think Jax only took 2 sacks, for a very minimum loss for like 2 yards or something like that. And another thing that goes, it's crazy to see, his third down, his money down completions are insane. Like, he's been able to keep this team alive, and it reminds me of the hype that was going on with Jaden Daniels. That I'm gonna take away the word hype. It wasn't hype because the guy was a third down merchant. Like, I don't know what the hell was happening, but it was like it could be like 3rd and 18 in some way, somehow he finds how to get the first down. And we're seeing some of that with Jackson Dart. He's just, whether he's using his legs, whether he's just making a pass, or that 3rd and 9, for example. That 3rd and 9, I believe they're lined up in a shotgun formation, and I think Greg Van Roten, that was actually one of his bad reps. I don't know who the hell he picked up. I don't think he picked up anybody. I think he goes in double teams with the center and just lets Jahad Campbell come right through. And Jermaine Illuminor's guy is getting around him too. And they're both crashing down, and you see it coming quick, like they're colliding on the pocket fast. And that's when Dart throws that corner route to Theo Johnson, first down. And I think Johnson runs Adoree Jackson over, which that was nice to see. Sorry, Adoree. But the poise, the to keep his composure and just put it out there, because he threw that right as Theo's breaking, that ball's in the air. So once Theo gets around, and it's still ahead of him, where he's high pointing the ball, and it's where only he could get it. I think it was Makuba who was playing defense on him, and he's like 2 yards off of him, and he's leading his player. He's throwing him open, and beautiful rep, and things have just been flowing so much better. You just hope this offense just keeps it up. Kafka calling better plays. We're finally seeing some better plays, some better coaching. But I think good players help make good coaches. So I think that speaks volumes to what these guys are bringing to this team. So shout out to them, man. We can't say enough about this offense and what's become of them. But they're still young, so I'm trying to keep even keel. It's just hard, bro. We just scored 34 points against the Eagles, so it's hard to stay calm because we don't do this. We haven't scored more than 20 points. We don't ever score more than 20 points. We don't ever score more than 10 points. Like we suck at scoring. Like we were the worst in the red zone. This year before Jackson Dart came in. Last year we ended like 29th or 31st. We might have been the worst. I don't even know. But the numbers are bad. That's what I do know. And you don't have to be a statistic crazy person to realize that. Like, just watching these games, we don't score. So we know we're the worst scoring because we never score. But it seems like that's finally changing, man. And I'm hyped for it. Let's before we move over to the defense, I want to talk about the special teams. McAtney, tough miss on the field goal, but overall, special teams, aside from the kicker, dude, we've been getting not only great returns from Gunner and great blocking, because that's also due to blocking, so great job from those guys and him finding those holes, but also on the defensive side, when we're kicking off, we were pinning them down there a lot. I think the best they got was like to the 30. And they had a few hiccups, but I think it's because that pressure, they were feeling that pressure. We were getting down there quick, and guys were gang tackling, and it was a sight to see. I was like, man, everybody was just dialed in. Like everything was just hitting on all calibers. So let's move over to this defense. This whole summer, this pass rush going crazy. It's not that I was skeptical, but I'm patient. I want to see what happens on the field. I'm not about all the hype. Like, we got to see what happens when these guys get out and play football on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays. But it's clicking, and I think Shane Bowen is dialing up these. I like him coming on these stunts. He got to stunt more. I've been saying this. He needs to stunt more. One of those sacks from Burns is a clear stunt where Abdul takes the outside on Mailata, and then Burns just comes under him, and he's right there in Jalen Hurts' face. We got to keep calling these kinds of stunts. He has to set up Tibbs on them too, but just overall a great job from this D-line, because not only were they getting pressure in Jalen Hurts' face, he seemed very uncomfortable when he was backpedaling and he was getting out the pocket. And even when he was getting out the pocket, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the first half, he was dialing it up, even when he was getting out the pocket. But then I think our coverage got a little stickier in the second half. And I think our pass rush just became even more ferocious against that offense, which it always helps too when they're playing from behind, right? At that point, we get the 20-7, we have the 20-17 lead, and then we go out there and then we score again. So when they're playing from behind, and you know they kind of become predictable, and meaning that they have to throw the ball, you know that's the pass rush's time to eat, and they were eating, they were getting pressure. Abdul Carter is a dog. I'm so happy we picked him. I'm so happy he's part of the foundation of what we're building here. I've heard so many people, saying, oh, because we have Abdul now, get rid of Kayvon Thibodeau. Are you nuts? No, we do not want to get rid of players like that. These are the players that we want together so that they can continue to build and keep working and just becoming. What have we won off here in New York as the Giants? We've won off D lines that are insane. And we've seen that whole recipe for success is still the recipe for success. What happened last year with Mahomes? He got murked because that defensive line looked insane. Defense wins games. He's the best quarterback. One of the best quarterbacks. Josh Allen's up there. We have a lot of good quarterbacks. We got Justin Herbert. We were facing. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. I'm not gonna go and talk shit about the guy. I think he's a great quarterback. But when you have a defense that's in your face all the time, every play, not allowing you to process and scan the field, it don't matter what you do. Look at what they did to Pat Mahomes last year in the Super Bowl, or earlier this year in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, that's our recipe. And that's going to be our foundation. If this team wants to go and win Super Bowls in the near future, we need to continue and keep these guys, sign these guys, go drop the bag on them. Kayvon Thibodeau, I'm sorry, I know I was talking about Abdul Carter, and what I got to say is, listen, he's a baller. The statistics may not be there. He may not have all the sacks. I'm pretty sure, I think he's like top 12 in pressures or something like that. But the guy is a force. The guy is a force to be reckoned with. He's creating chaos in that backfield and allowing for his team to come and help him. At that point, you got to be, it's 11-man football. You got to swarm to the field. It's defense. That's where you're always taught on defense, swarm to the football. So even if he doesn't get the guy, he creates chaos. He makes guys miss. And now the play is blown up. And now it's on your defensive guys to come and clean it up. And they do that. And they've been doing that at a really high level. So shout out to Abdul Carter. The numbers ain't there yet, but he's fucking due. And it's coming. I know it. I smell it. We all know it. Next, I want to talk about Kayvon Thibodeau. KT, who I think caught so much flack. And honestly, I didn't get why. Again, the team as a whole, when you're losing, it's hard to. Everybody is going to talk shit about everybody. Dexter Lawrence, KT, Neighbors, like these Tyrone, like these guys were balling. It just doesn't show up because they were 3-14 last season. You know what I'm saying? But KT was playing some of his best ball last season. And if you were paying attention in the offseason, the guy was working out like a maniac. I think he took some like jiu-jitsu or wrestling or, to work on his tackling. Listen, whatever he did, keep doing it. He's been a beast for us setting that edge. Yesterday, I saw him take on Steen pulling on him, and he gets under Steen, levels him up, gets to Barkley, tackle for a loss. And he did that multiple times of just setting the edge where there was just nowhere to go for Saquon, and Saquon has to cut it back in, and there's nothing there because our guys are swarming to the ball, having good gap integrity and flowing to the football, man. And it was a beautiful sight to see. This has been one of the best defensive performances I saw, to be able to quiet that offense that is stacked, that looks like a freaking all-pro it looks like a cheat code. It's like a cheat code over there. They have a whole bunch of 99s over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have respect, and you gotta really do your job at a high level to compete against that Eagles offense. I know they've been lackluster this season, and I think it's due to that, Kevin Patullo coming in for Kellen Moore this offseason. They're still trying to get it together, but ballers are going to ball at the end of the day. So it doesn't take away anything from how they showed up, how they balled out, how they executed, how they adjusted. We've been talking so much about how Shane Bowen doesn't adjust. We shut them out that second half. That he adjusted, So shout out to him. Shout out to Shane Bowen. And Kayvon, keep playing at that high level, brother. And I loved his post game. He did a little interview with LaShawn McCoy and all them. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, KT, 100% what you said. I'm trying to keep it PG for the family, but 100% what you said. I feel that way too, bro. Now we're moving on to Dexy. Sexy Dexy, man. Bro, that guy doesn't get enough credit right now because, again, the numbers aren't there. People are so fixated on numbers. Watch the film. He's getting double teamed every damn play. Okay, he may not win a lot of those, but you see him fucking both the offensive guys trying to hold this man back are both in a back pedal, and Jalen Hurts is having to get out of the pocket. That's not going to go on the stat sheet. But you damn right, he affected that play completely. And not only to bring up the fact that everybody else is going to have a man-on-man, which means KT, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Harrison Smith, or Nunez Roches, one of them are just going to have a chance to get there because they're double teaming homie. Every play. So it opens up what we can do, and that's what makes us so damn dangerous, because now you can't just double team everybody. No, you're going to have to account for that man right there. So they got to pick their poison with the Giants, and that's really what makes it so deadly. And they've been doing a great job. Against the Saints, I know it was a little bit lackluster as well, but I think that's a shout out to kind of how the Saints offensive game plan came out. They had no time. They had no time to get there because Spencer Rattler was doing an amazing job of releasing that football at a high level really quickly. I think it was like under like 2.3 seconds or some crazy stat like that. It's just difficult, to get there and bring pressure when those are quick outs, quick slants, and it just wasn't happening. But against the Eagles, I think we were able to play better back end coverage, and so that is what created better pressure. We were able to only send 4 and get pressure with them, and that alleviated having to send an extra blitzer and drop 7. And that creates a lot of chaos for Jalen Hurts, where his first read might be taken away, his second read might be taken away. He's kind of waiting for these guys to get open, and he doesn't have that type of time. And then here you go, one of these guys are chasing behind you. And that's the thing also that I think they did a great job. You didn't always see them so fixated on trying to chase him. I saw KT, for example. He looks like he's about to take an angle on the inside, and Jalen Hurts is scrambling, and he goes and he reroutes and goes the other way. And at first, Jalen Hurts was looking like he's trying to run out and just run a play with his legs, not try to throw it. But he sees Kayvon do that, and then he's forced to back up and hold the rock, and he throws it out of bounds, incomplete. Great job of not getting too thirsty for the sack and stuff, and just knowing that let's contain this guy. Let's contain him. I'm going to take the right angle, contain him, let the boundary be my best friend, and stay right here. He did that. Incomplete pass. Another out, another punt. You know what I'm saying? So, great job by this defensive line overall. I said the back end coverage was a bit better. Now, there were some plays on film that I think those guys need to go and look at, and they're going to want to get back. Jalen misses Smith wide open. That was a busted coverage. Javon Holland had Jalen placed it where he needed to place it. I don't think Javon gets there. I sure as hell know that Cordell Flott does not get there. On the interception pass, if they go and look back, AJ is open on that crosser against Holland. We got to clean those things up. We're going to see these guys in 2 weeks. But I don't want to take anything away from them. Overall, those plays did not happen. Again, that play was an interception. Great job. Great job to Cordell Flott, man. I want to round of applause for Cordell Flott. Cordell Flott was someone who, again, I feel like has flown under the radar. I've heard a lot of trash spoken about the guy. He came in here and helped the defense pretty much lock down Justin Jefferson in 2022 for that playoff win. He's learned, he's developed. This summer, he looked extremely good at camp. Preseason, he looked good. And these first couple of weeks, he's done well when he's been in there. To the point where I'm like, when I see Banks come out on 3rd down, and I'm just like, why is Banks on the field right now? Why? They see him come in, and it's almost like feasting time for these quarterbacks. They're like, yo, I'm going right at you, bro. Like, whoever's there, you getting the ball. Because that's what Banks has become, unfortunately. Cordell Flott finally getting the starting role. The coach is finally making the decision. We're not going to rotate these guys. We're going to let Cordell Flott go out there, get these reps, do what he needed to do. I think that was huge for us. He did a great job, aside from getting burned on that play that wasn't ultimately a catch, but he has to be more wary of that and has to, go and watch that film and see what went wrong. But overall, he's been consistent as hell. He's all over the guys. He helped end the game against the Chargers, too, on that tackle. He makes a great tackle, too, against Saquon when he was coming out. And it's just one-on-one. And most of the times, I'm looking at that situation, and I'm like, oh, we're fucked. Why? Because Saquon will either make you miss or run you over and then continue to run for another 30 yards. And he didn't do neither of those things. Cordell Flott played his hips well, played low to the ground, got leverage, and forces Saquon to go out of bounds. He's done a great job. I hear that he's small, all this, doesn't matter. He plays good football. He's a football player. He learned from his mistakes. He can be trusted. And I think he's done a hell of a job for this defense. So shout out Cordell Flott. Andrew Phillips is probably my favorite player on this defense, which is crazy considering who we have. I mean, I really like Abdul Carter, but Andrew Phillips, just since last year when he bought it as a rookie, even to us looking as trash as we did, I was like, this guy is a problem. He would be always tackling guys and causing some pass deflections or just right there. He was just always right there, right around the ball. You always saw him there, and I'm just like, and he always looks so quick and instinctive, and he looks like he's in flow state out there. I know he gets a bad rap because he's been inconsistent these past couple of weeks, but listen, he had a good game. This defense had a good game. Adebo, I think there were moments that he would like to have back. I think that PI was trash, but ultimately, man, listen, these guys got to keep doing what they're doing. They're going to keep learning. This is their first year playing together. This is their first year playing with the Giants, playing under a new system, playing with new guys. As much as people think like, all right, they're talented. People are like, yeah, you pay them so much money, they should come in. It's not always as plug and play because the chemistry has to build. When you're, especially on defense, there's a lot of communication, that has to happen. And these guys this is their first year playing in this system with these guys. And so they're getting acclimated. But you know what we're seeing? We're seeing growth. We're seeing that they're stacking days finally. So all you can do is hope that they continue to stack these days and continue to ball out. I am beyond happy, man. It honestly felt surreal. We had like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and we're up. You know what I'm saying? Like we're up, and I think at that point we were still only up 10. But I'm sweating, bro. You know, we've been so accustomed to seeing the Giants find a way to lose, man. Like just inventing a brand new way to lose. We've been so accustomed to that. And finally, they were able to close this one out. And bro, even up to even when we had the 17-point lead, I was still like, how can they blow this? What can happen? What can happen right now? And then I just started telling myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm watching their plays. I'm watching the interception, the fumble. I'm just like, you know what? Not tonight. Not tonight. On this particular Thursday night, the Giants got it done. There's been one thing that's been on my mind. The Giants are on a pattern right now. Bad game against the Commanders. Better game against the Cowboys. I'm not going to say good game because you lost that game when you shouldn't have. Better game. Bad game against good game against the Chargers. Bad game against the Saints. Good game against the Eagles. We can't go bad game against the Broncos. We cannot take a step back against the Broncos. We've set the bar. I love the hype with these guys. I love the hype, the juice that they're playing with, the excitement with the media, whatever. What Brian said, what Coach Dave said in the locker room after the win in his post-game speech was stay even keel. And I think that that's so important. They got to stay balanced. They got to stay at bay. This is a good high, but stick to what got you here. A good week of preparation, recovery, rehab, and let's go. The job's not done. You know, this was a good week. This showed them what happens when they play fundamental New York Giants brand of football, man. They took care of the ball. They executed at a high level. Penalties to a minimum. Mistakes to a minimum. That's what's going to win you games. That is the recipe for success. And let this defense work. And then they bought the turnovers. When you win that turnover ratio, it's hard not to win. 5 turnovers, like they said, is not going to happen. 2 turnovers for the defense, 0 on offense. W. That's the winning recipe. They need to continue that. I'm excited because I feel like they just shown that they're going to keep learning. They're going to keep growing. They're going to keep developing. They still have 11 games left to play, I believe. 11 games left to play. And, man, I'm excited. I'm excited, but I'm also weary because I'm still a Giants fan. And it's like, it's almost like I'm waiting for the thing to go bad, you know? But I'm going to enjoy this. I think you should go enjoy this. All us Giants fans are finally able, for the next 10 days at least, to say we won a football game. We won it against the reigning Super Bowl champions, and it felt freaking amazing, you know? On to the Broncos. On to the Broncos. We're going to be doing a Big Blue preview of the Broncos matchup. We're going to be looking at their team, that offense, that defense, how they stack up against our guys. We're going to see what happens in the week, any injuries, if anybody pops up on the injury report, on their injury report. And I did see that Joe Shane is working. It's been reported that he's working on a trade, or he's working and making calls to see what the market's looking like for some receivers. So we'll see what happens with that. If you're still here and you've watched this whole video through, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how you feel about the win. Let me know what more you want to talk about. If anything, I'm open. I'm all ears. Pretty soon, I want to have people, calling in and all that kind of stuff and having real conversations, man. From one Giants fan to another. As much love. Enjoy this week. Enjoy the W. Talk soon. Big Blue with Drew. Peace.